Please welcome to the stage, Desiree Burch.
Yes, stories also matter because they're hilarious. I am going to be very honest and very vulnerable with you guys in the few minutes that I actually have to do this. I just want to let you all know, yes, woo. I want to let you all know that in the true spirit of Mercury retrograde, today being the last day, my computer has eaten the talk that I have been working on this entire week to fix up, to get out to you guys, and I assure you I am quite a good writer, and you would have loved it, all right? It would have changed everyone's minds. You would have wept blood. Telling you. And don't even ask me if, didn't I save it in the cloud or, didn't I back it up? No, I didn't. I'm going to cry if you bring it up. Don't bring it up, all right? I just do want to take a moment, stand here, be with you guys, and be here for you guys, because that is a big element of what storytelling is all about. It is also me buying time to try to remember at least where my story starts. So, I'm going to start with an anecdote. That's a good way to start off a talk about stories. And I will say this. It is never a good idea to start off a line of questioning with, this is going to sound racist, but... Because, well, not only is it probably guaranteed to be racist because it's going to be coming from this ignorance you have, not that you don't know, but that it mattered so little to you to find out that you didn't even try to imagine what the answer to your question might be. You just made it somebody else's responsibility to answer it for your curiosity. Not only for that, but also because it is going to put that person on the defense. Now, I now live in London, and I have for the past year. And as an expat abroad, you get used to people asking you very loaded questions, right? You know, everyone is very fascinated with America, other places you go. They see a lot of it on TV. They're always enamored with your accent, because you sound like you're in a movie, because where movies come from. You know, when you say you lived in New York, everyone just creams their jeans, New York! And they're singing Alicia Keys, and you're just like, okay, it's cool, it's a city, you calm down. And then invariably they ask you, what the hell's wrong with your country? Because everybody's killing everyone and no one seems to care. And I mean, the thing is, you gotta realize outside of America, I know it's crazy here, because you're getting in news, but you're also getting in a lot of Kardashians and other information that's blocking out the real news. But to them, we just kind of look like the honey boo boo of the universe. We're fascinating, but a hot mess, you know what I mean? So I'm talking to this very erudite British man, educated, liberal, all that stuff. We're talking about his experiences in America. Turns out we've both been to Cincinnati. We're talking about that. And then he asks me, there you go. And then he asks me, and we'd both seen wonderful things there, and we'd also seen a lot of rampant joblessness and segregation that's just blatant. And he goes, I don't get it. They have a fantastic art museum that's free right in the middle of Cincinnati, and I never see any of the black people outside going into it. And so immediately, as I said, I'm on the defense. It's my job to represent all of black people. Clearly, I'm qualified, and it's my turn to step up to the plate and knock this one out of the park. And I immediately launch into his need to understand the conditions, that people might be coming from. They might not know it's free. They might not have the time off during working hours. They might not consider it a priority when they're trying to survive and put food on the table. Also, Netflix. A lot of reasons why they might not be there, right? But, what I'm upset about is the fact that after I give him that answer, it's not satisfactory, and I can see him already thinking his thoughts about everything, and I'm not even satisfied with what I've said. There's never enough for me to say to have to do this justification job, and I'm upset because I know what I should have done. I'm a storyteller. I know the power of stories. I'm a solo performer. I know that stories make people vulnerable. I've seen people in my audiences respond to me with things they haven't told the person next to them. That's their best friend or their partner, because something in them recognizes something in me that leaps out of them, and it's a reflection, and they just want to go, hi, you know? And I know that stories require listeners to be empathetic. You have to care about an audience to share something true with them, and you have to care about what you're hearing in order to fully understand it if you really want to try. And also, all we are stories. Like, our idea of who we are, like our self, is a character in an arc that is progressing along life events, not all of them, just the ones that we remember as meaningful, because they resonate with our character arc. And that's how we decide if things that we experience are for us, you know, or if that's something I would do, you know, because it resonates with a character that we've created. And I know that we think, that we dream, that we judge other people with all of our stories. I know how powerful they are. And when I think back to this with regret, I just wish that I had told him my story. Not that it represents all black people, but it would have represented me, and that would have been far more honest. I wish I would have told him how, you know, I grew up in suburban Southern California. We weren't poor, we were middle class, but we were barely scraping by to be there. And my parents never took me to a museum. I mean, my mom commuted 4 hours to work every single day until she retired. And my dad was a contractor, and he worked in various different cities, including this one at some point, and he would send money home instead of sending himself home. And I remember how it wouldn't be weird for the electricity to get turned off, or for an appraiser to be walking around the house while we were hiding inside, because they were always almost about to foreclose on the house. And I remember how when I was 8, and all the books I'd read about, you know, everyone was a musician and played the piano, and I asked them for piano lessons, and my parents laughed in my face, like almost forgot that they were in a terrible marriage because they were laughing together in my face about how that was so unrealistic, right? You know, like, where did I think they were gonna be able to afford a piano from, do you know what I mean? Much less weekly lessons. And when I cried about it, it wasn't because I didn't get the lessons, it was because I was ashamed, because they were right, and I was old enough, even at 8, to know that that was not within the realm of possibility for me. And when I worked my ass off in school, I did it halfway out of the guilt because of the sacrifice that they made, that I was fully aware of that they made. And then when I got myself into Yale, by the way, I was completely overwhelmed. It was amazing and completely overwhelming because, you know, not because of the academic rigor, just because of being in a culture full of people who had been trained their whole lives for this moment and feeling completely unprepared for it. And it wasn't until I went to a museum as an adult, well into my adulthood, when I saw a work of art by a black artist who was depicting black bodies in the middle of the cosmos, in the middle of their joy and their suffering, that I actually openly wept for the first time at a piece of visual art, because I didn't have to go through this great leap of cultural translation in order to understand something that was foreign to me. It was in my language. It was speaking to me, and it saw me, and it said, hello, I see you, and I saw it back, and I was compelled to create because of that, because I wanted something that I could put into the world to reach someone else and to say hello. And when I think back to this guy's question, the reason I didn't answer it correctly is because I tried to answer it. You know, and I didn't just give him a story. I didn't give him a window into an opportunity for him to answer it himself, to have an imagination, to have a discovery, to have a real understanding, so that he could live the answer to his own questions and perhaps come up with more and not be completely shut down. And I didn't, you know, speak myself to him, and I felt like I did both of us an injustice that day. So all I can say to all of you is that stories matter, and your stories matter, because your stories will be told, and if you don't tell them, then they won't feature you in them, and that will be the greatest tragedy of it. That's it. Thank you guys so much.